Hey, everybody, welcome to Love and Relo, the voice of the relocation industry. I am your host, Ben Cross, and I am super blessed and super honored to be here with the one and only Beth Archibald of Archibald Relocation and Real Estate Services. Hey, Beth, how are you doing today?
I am great. It's really nice to be here with you, Ben.
Beth, you are one of the people I most admire in this business.
Ooh.
I've known you since I probably got into this, early days for me. And you've really influenced my approach really in many ways. And I think you really helped me step back and really see how important relationships are in this business. And for that, I am eternally grateful to you. And it's really influenced the whole way the show goes, the way I operate. And I know you've had that impact on so many people in our business because we talk behind your back and they all say the same thing. So we all love you so much, Beth. And thank you so much for being here today with us.
Thank you. Those words mean a lot to me. Thank you.
Yeah. And hey, we're welcoming everybody. Hit that like button out there if you are watching us today. I want to know who you are, where you are, and how did you meet Beth? Put that in the comments, okay? You're so known and loved by so many people. Hit that like button. We're going to be taking questions for Beth. We're going to be talking about how she started her amazing business. We're going to be talking about those relationships and mentorship and how she gets so much out of this industry and how she manages to give so much. I want to know all about your philosophies, Beth. We're going to be talking about that. We'll take a peek into the real estate market as well, because there's a lot going on there. And I'm looking to buy a house. Maybe give me some advice, Beth, on that. So looking at all that stuff. So let's see. We got people checking in here. Andy Galecki, hello from San Diego. What's up, Andy? Good to see you. Look at that. Bob Kelly, lucky me. I've arrived early, get a front row seat to this great event. Greetings from Atlanta. What's up, Bob? Good to see you. Jana checking in from Brazil. Look at that. Jana's guest producing today. So let's give Jana some love. Send her some love to Rio. Thank you, Jana. Rob Zeitz checking in from Cambridge, Mass. At Air Inc. What's up? Alan Brown. Hey, everyone. Good to see you, Alan. Christina. Hi, Ben. Hi, Beth. Look at this. Debbie Convery. So awesome to see, Beth, one of the very best in the business. Do you know, Beth, what you and Deb Convery have in common?
She used to live in Portland.
Yeah. And you both, led the Portland Relocation Council.
Yes.
And you are both on a dwindling top 5 people I've never got to interview on this show list.
Whoa.
Did you know that? Yes. Yes. So that basically just leaves Deb at this point. So we got to get Deb on Love and Relo.
Deb, you're it.
If Beth can do it, Deb can do it. Okay. We love you, Deb. Jana sending the love out there. Roberto Manocchio from Brazil is in the house. Andy saying, I met Beth at ERC.
Mm-hmm.
Look at that. And then Sharon Fox is saying, I know Beth from RDC. Yeah. Rainy London in the house, Lake Oswego. Judy Gray, Jim Abreu. This is great. Beth, do you remember the first time you and I met?
Yes, very much so.
It wasn't my finest moment. Okay. I'm just going to put that out there. I made a bit of I made a bit of an ass out of myself. Okay. But I ended up apologizing. And Beth, you were so, warm and forgiving. And ever since then, I felt this closeness to you. And every time I see you, it makes me warm and fuzzy inside. So thank you for being that sweet person to me. And I just want to thank you for that.
Welcome. And you know what? You did it all on your own. You were awesome. And look at you today. Woo.
I know, crazy.
I can interview you on Love Relo. Yeah.
You should. That'd be fun.
We're going to reverse this.
We're going to reverse it. Look at this. Mary Corrales says you're a legend. Mike Falia from Newport Beach. Look at Lee's checking in from Atlanta. Mary O'Donnell. Look at this. Mike Falia says, I know Beth from my dad.
Yes.
Mike Falia. Wow. Mary O'Donnell knows you from ERC. You know, this is great. People have so many questions. I don't know where to begin. Let's start here. We're taking questions from the audience. Okay. Bob says, may I introduce you to the most famous Marcellus? Like, is that Marcellus? Tell people who Marcellus is.
He is my vice president of first impression. He's my Frenchie, my little French bulldog, and he took his job very seriously. He has his own business card, and he greeted everybody that came to our office. Ben got to experience it. Bob got to, lots of people. And now he's just listening.
Now he's working from home.
He's working from home.
He's a sweetie. Yeah, when you go into the office there in Portland, you get the warmth, and you feel Beth's presence there in the office, and it's definitely a warm, welcoming environment. Deb's saying one day, Ben. I keep hearing that, Deb, and I'm going to keep asking you. Look at this, but she can't top Beth. That's great.
Oh yes, she can.
Vinny saying, Beth, my friend, a legend in our industry, super blessed to know you.
Oh.
This is great, wonderful. I want to ask you, Beth. I want to go back to kind of the beginning of your journey, because I just think it's so fascinating. Would you mind telling us a little bit about what was that impetus for you to create Archibald Relocation and Real Estate?
Well, thank you for asking that. I worked for 3 of the biggest and best relocation and real estate companies, or real estate companies, I should say, in Portland, and saw, the need to really not just be an engine that would bring in real estate business for a real estate company, but to give a higher touch and care and grow the services that we could provide with a company that I felt I could steer in that direction. So I really do give a lot of credit to the companies that I worked with here, and I am very grateful for them because they added value to what I could bring to the table in opening my own company. And it goes even back farther than that, because I was a Navy wife and I moved 11 times in 7 years, and
oh my gosh,
I didn't even know what the heck I was doing, but I knew I didn't want to be treated like I was treated. So that's always been one of my biggest goals, is to treat people like I'd like to be treated, to treat them like their family, to make sure that this life transition that they're making, which is very, very stressful. It's right there with death, divorce, relocation, right there, top 3. To make it really, really, really good. I always tell my staff, hear them, listen, and say, don't worry, we'll take care of it. I said, if you don't know what you're going to do, hang up and scream and say, okay, what are we going to do now? And that's how we get some of the best services that we have. But it's really the most important ingredient for success for my company is truly caring. And I know that's kind of overused, and people go, oh, yeah, but it does. The proof in the pudding is when you can really deliver what you promised. You're not over promising and under delivering. That's the kiss of death.
Yeah.
But really caring, and it comes from my own personal experience and all the time that I spent in running relocation divisions for real estate companies. I saw that we had to marry the two, because guess what? Everybody needs a place to live when they move, when they relocate. Whether that be selling a house, buying a house, or renting, you have to have a roof over your head to do your job. So guess what? That's a real important ingredient. That's what we do. We help people get settled in their new communities and have a roof over their heads.
I love the philosophy, and I know firsthand that you treat people with such love and kindness, and I think that's probably a big reason for your success. I recently, a couple of years ago, made my own entrepreneurial journey and stepped out, on my own. And thank you. And inspired by people like yourself that have made that leap. And I know there's people out there that are probably watching this that are amazing at what they do and have thought in the back of their head, hey, I could do this, myself. What advice would you give to people that make that jump from being amazing employees to now being, okay, we're going to try this on our own, and hang a shingle, an Archibald relocation or a cross relocation, or, whatever you're going to do out there? What advice would you give people?
A good business plan, financial support to make it for at least 2 years, and connections, the relationships. I've always said relationships equal business. I would never, ever have been able to do this without Worldwide ERC's connections and my time as chairman of the board, um, chairman of the group, RDC. I mean, those are the best of the best around the nation. All, and I know everybody. I can pick up the phone, and they know me. We hand the baton to each other. We can service, and I had global connections for my tenure with Worldwide ERC. So it really, but you've got to have a good business plan, believe in what you're doing, know you can do it, never look back, never ever look back. It's like running a race. If you want to look back to see where your competitors are, guess what? They're going to pass you right over and tromp over you. If you know you're out in front, just keep on running. And that's what I did. And I'm very grateful for the partners that I had. I did purchase them out of the company about 3 years ago. But if I didn't have that help, guess what? I wouldn't be here today. So I have a lot to be grateful for.
And I love the fact that you acknowledge that too, because none of us find ourselves in this spot wherever we are in life.
Alone.
You know, none of us did it alone, right? And there's always people there that kind of gave us a hand when we needed it, you know. And I love the fact that you acknowledge that too, and you're open about that, right? Because you know, I remember my first clients that supported me, and we were just talking about that with Jana today. And so that's really cool. So the things I take away from what you just said was, you know, have a business plan. Have 2 years of finances. I did not have 2 years of finances, but have 2 years of finances. I think yours was a little more capital intensive and you had employees and overhead and things like that. So I think that also changes the math a little bit. But also I think what you said too was super interesting about your network. And I've heard people say your network is your net worth, you know, and there's so much real value in this. I know we think we're just playing around on social media and stuff, and we're just kind of like, you know, making comments. Like, what does it really do? But that's the way people associate nowadays. Whereas before, probably when you first got started in your career, you had to show up at a PRC or an ERC or an RDC, a lot of acronyms, right? And shake hands and make those relationships and forge those relationships. When did you get started with Worldwide ERC?
1984.
Wow.
I went and I thought, oh my goodness, I'm never going to get to know these people. I'm just a little pea in the ocean, you know?
Did you feel like an outsider at your first one?
Did.
Me too.
Did. I really did. And then you just start connecting with people. I remember I went to a class prior to ERC for corporate calling. And I was kind of droopy back to my room. We were in Florida at Disneyland or Disney World. And I thought, oh, what am I going to do with myself, right? And the two women next to me said, hey, we're going to Epcot Center. You want to go? I go, yeah. Guess what? It became two of my really, really good friends. They were from Missouri.
Wow.
And with the Henry Company. And every year we'd meet and do something on Thursday nights. And while we were there, and I really felt like I really generated friendships when I became RDC, because I knew more and more people. We had roundtables, we shared ideas. I learned a lot from a lot of good people. And you know what? I just always said, you know what stretches you grows you. And I'm always looking to stretch myself. And that's really where I think a lot of good ideas. And you know what? I've learned through my mistakes. I'm not telling you I didn't have any when I started, but I started in 2008. I was in Italy, and my gosh, the whole market crashed. And I thought, what am I going to do? And we made it. And I figured, you know what? If you can make it during that time, you can make it on any time.
Okay, I have so many questions about that. I have so many questions, and I love what you said. You know, what stretches you, grows you. Did you? Okay, we're gonna. Did you say you started your business in 2008?
Yes.
You started a real estate and relocation business in 2008.
Yes, and out of the
was that in your business plan?
14 and a half years later.
Wow.
And I still love it. I still love it.
Bravo. Put in the if you're watching this right now, first of all, hit that like button, send a little love out to Portland, to Beth. We love having her here. Also, get in the comments. I want to know what your questions are for Beth. We're going to ask her all sorts of things. I've got questions about what it was like back in the day at Worldwide ERC, at RDC. We're going to get into all that. We're also going to be talking about some real estate stuff towards the end. So stay tuned for that. People are checking in right now. Aaron saying off subject, but Beth, I really just want to cuddle up on that couch in the back and a hot cup of coffee, a good book.
Yay! Little Frenchie. See?
It does. Oh, that's beautiful. It does look like a
Come
nice
on
couch
over,
to
Aaron.
snuggle up on. You know, it was funny. My first time at ERC, and people are saying that's where they met you too. Look at Rob Fletcher. Beth is awesome. I first met her at ERC in Florida, and she swept me up in her arms and introduced me to a million folks and really helped me find my feet in Relo. Who else would do that? Rob from Heart.
Oh, thank you, Rob.
That's
And we're
beautiful.
working, our companies are working together, and we wouldn't have that opportunity.
Nice. Yeah, that's great. I met Rob for the first time in Spain recently, but we had met kind of via the show, and I actually interviewed him on the show. Judy Gray saying, Beth is simply the best I've known her for 30 plus years. We served on the board of RDC together for many years. She remains one of my nearest and dearest friends anywhere. Love you, Beth.
Oh, that's so nice. Thank you, Judy.
Incredible. Incredible. We got some great comments coming in. Keep those comments coming in. One last one. Felicia Osorio, Beth and the Archibald team are one of the best in Portland. Wonderful to see her on Love and Relo. Look at that. So tell me what. So I also felt like I was a fish out of water. I felt like my first time at Worldwide ERC, it was 2010 in San Antonio. I remember still. It's funny you even like remember the year like I do. And I felt like, okay, everybody here knows each other except me. And I felt like I was on the outside of this big kind of a clique, kind of a group of friends, you know, and I didn't, and honestly, that feeling, I was like, I never want to feel like that again. I want to be on the inside of this insiders group. And I really made that my mission. Like, how do I infuse and interject myself into this equation? Because I saw how much fun they were having. And I just like, I want to be a part of this, you know? And I did that through a lot of volunteerism, as it sounds like you did. Yeah. I'd like to understand a couple things, but first, what was Worldwide ERC like back in 1984? I mean, gosh, here we are almost 30 years later, or no, almost 40 years later. I can't even do the math. Almost 40 years later. What was it like back then?
Well, it was very well attended. It was a place to be seen. It was really one of the only places other than the RDC. And I don't even know if the RDC, I think they started in the 80s as well. It was the place you had to be if you wanted to connect with corporations, if you wanted to connect with third-party companies, as they were called then. But that's one of the reasons why I reach out to people and take like Rob Fletcher from London, who didn't know anybody. And he's a hoot, by the way, and very smart. Yes. But to take them and introduce them to others. How else do you get introduced? I remember standing in crowds and nobody would introduce me. And I go, what the heck? So I make it a point to say, oh, let me introduce you to Ben. He does da. Then you're connected, and then you connect, and they connect. And guess what? The next meeting you go to, hi, Ben.
Right.
But it was attended by over 2,000 people. I think the first one was 2,500 people. We all stayed Friday night. I went to one of them, and it was the symphony orchestra, and I got the last seat in the house, which was up in the nosebleed bleachers. And it was so overwhelming. And it was when the first woman president, they called them president's chairman now for ERC. Her name was Patty. It was before service providers could be on the board of ERC, those kinds of things. Kevin Rich was, I think, the first to be named to the board and an officer's position on Worldwide ERC. So there's a lot of history there. And I think that it's just the quality of education was really good. We needed ERC and RDC to really show our face in the industry and get business. That was our job, to bring business into the real estate companies for the real estate agents, of people that were relocating into the area. Yeah. And if you didn't know who you're supposed to know, guess what? You wouldn't get any business. So there you go. And you had to get smart. You had to know everything and be a little bit better than anybody else to get that business.
You know, when you start saying things like 2,500 people and symphonies and things like that, I'm like, wow. Because I've always found Worldwide ERC to be very beneficial. People ask me all the time. I find it to be very beneficial. But then also people say, you know, it's not like it used to be, or used to be bigger or whatever. And it does. It sounds like it used to be twice as big.
Oh, it was. And
you know, do you ever see it getting back to that, or what would have to happen, or how do you think, you know, the industry might grow to get back to that kind of a size?
make it less expensive,
Mm.
join forces with the regional groups,
The
get people.
regionals are very strong right now.
Yes, and they're a good place to meet who you need to know to do business. And I noticed that we have a lot of people coming in to the Portland Relocation Council that don't even live here, but they have business here. So um,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. I don't have a crystal ball. I would love, love, love to see ERC become stronger.
Yeah, yeah, that'd be really cool. As
Yeah,
I'm gearing up for Vegas, and I'm going to be out there. And yesterday we were talking about the foundation and the
yeah.
amazing party that
Foundation's
we're going to have
wonderful.
there. Yeah, we're going to raise a ton of money for some good causes out there. So looking forward to
Well,
being there.
and
And
you know what? It's about volunteering too. This is volunteer organization, and you need to give. I always say no person was ever honored for what they received.
ooh,
Honor has been the reward for what they have given. And that, I think, is my success. That's where I feel very blessed that I gave and then you receive. Um, but it isn't that, big placard of awards. It's how have you made someone feel? How have you made a difference? And that's always been my goal, to do that. And that's helping each and every single person, even little itty bitties that come in. We want to make sure that they feel good about their relocation too. So it all goes into relationships.
so, and you talk about volunteering, and I totally agree. I think that's the best way um, to grow as a person,
Yeah.
to make friends, get networks, to get business. I mean, do all the things that we love to do, right? Tell me about becoming the was it president or chairman at the time? But tell me about how you got to that level at ERC.
Well, I was named to the board of, was very involved with RDC. I also was one of the original co-authors of the Broker's Marketing Analysis, which is still in use, but it's been renovated a couple of times.
Everyone with a CRP had to read that
Yeah,
and
I
memorize
hate
it.
to tell anybody I really was involved with that awful form, but they go, oh, ooh,
Oh, that's you. I was
right?
wondering who I
Ooh.
should blame for that.
But those connections, and then I traveled for, I think it was 8 weeks, every other week, and trained everybody how to use the form. And oh my gosh, that was great. We met people personally that I would never get to meet one on one. RDC was the same. I was president of RDC. That's the Relocation Directors Council. Um, and I was named to the board, which I was very surprised. I'll never forget the day I was driving to work and I get a call from the president and vice president at the time and said, "We would like to invite you to be a board member." I almost had an accident. Wow. It was the biggest honor that I'd ever had. And I was just thrilled. And I thought, wow, what could I do? And then never in a million years did I ever think that I would be leading the organization. And I had so many opportunities. I traveled to Warsaw for their meeting, London, connected with people. And to this day, I can pick up a phone and talk to somebody like Rob Fletcher and, with Heart Relocation, and know somebody to say, could you help
Right,
us? Like Beverly Sun with Asia Properties, and Shanghai and Hong
right.
Kong. And I went to Hong Kong and represented the DRC too. And also Amsterdam. So a lot of that travel, all those global connections have helped me. But more than that, I've been helped by so many other people along the way. And that's
Yeah.
what it's all about.
Well, and you say kind of like, how did I get this opportunity? What an honor. And,
Yeah.
just before, you said people are honored for what they give. And so I think it's just a testament, honestly, obviously, to how much you've given. And I
Yeah.
think when we start to realize that, I love that quote you gave, it's brilliant. It's not really a competition to see how much you can get. It's a competition to see how much you can give,
Yeah.
you
And you know
know?
what? I can't claim fame to that quote. Guess who it is? Calvin Coolidge. Look it up, everybody. It's a good one. And I keep it in front of me because you have to remain humble. Don't get a
Mm,
big head thinking you know everything. The day you think you know everything is the day you're stagnant. You've
mm,
got to keep on learning, keep on stretching yourself. You know,
How do you remain, how do you do that? So you've accomplished all these things, you know, you're chairman of the of ERC, you got, you know, your name's on the building, you know, like how, you know, and you're beloved by so many people who are always telling you how great you are. How do you stay grounded and stay humble and all that?
I think it's just me. I don't know how to say it. That's just who I am. I've always been that way. And I think that it's how you treat others. It's a fine line. How you make someone feel is a fine line. It's either really terrible or really something that's memorable. And I prefer to have it be memorable.
Right.
And you do reap what you sow. I grew up
Right.
with that. You do reap what you sow. And it's personal integrity too. Um,
Mm.
I just love this industry and I love the people. And I get so much from others. And sometimes it's like a little light bulb go off, hey, I could do that, but I'll do it with a little twist.
Right.
And you learn, it's the other thing, every relocation, you find out what you could do differently and then do it. That keeps me real too.
Yeah. That's great. Mary Piper's working on a BMA right now.
Oh, sorry, Mary.
Sorry, she just apologized. Well, you got a lot of apologies to make because that's a very popular document. Let's see here.
Right, Mary.
Mary's saying Beth paved the way for female leaders in this business and
Oh,
remains a huge role model.
oh,
Oh
thank
wow.
you. Boy,
Isn't that cool?
yeah, I
Get the
didn't have to wait
tissues.
till I died to hear that everybody loves me.
That's right. We're having a celebration of life for Beth
Yeah,
right
right.
now.
My life right now. Thank you, everybody.
This is great. Listen,
Pandemic, we all need it.
Vinny's saying I met Beth right after I relocated from Denver to Portland. Nothing like being so welcoming to a new community and making me feel at home.
Oh,
Christina, my mom's two greatest reminders: be humble and be kind.
kind.
That's good
Somebody
stuff.
said to me, "Are you always this nice?" I go, "There's strength in kindness.
Hmm.
I'd rather be remembered for that than being a wicked old witch of the West."
Hmm. That's great. Let's see. Rainey Johnson says there's been okay. So we got a question here. Keep those questions coming. Hit that like button right now, please. That does let everybody know we are live. We got a bunch of people watching on Facebook and LinkedIn. Rainey Johnson says there's been a lot of talk about the industry changing. What is one thing you think will never change? Ooh, good question, Rainey.
Well, that's easy. How you treat someone.
So is the human touch?
Human touch is huge. You cannot be a robot and do relocation.
Even though we're doing all these self-service portals and we're doing video counseling or video walkthroughs and we're having video surveys and we're, how do we keep the human side infused in the process?
Well, it's you walk your talk every single day. And I know for one thing, I would not want a robot or some type of mechanical process to go through when I'm
Right.
making a life transition. Again,
Right.
remember, death, divorce, relocation.
Yeah.
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 It's
Those are all
real.
people. Those are all people events too,
They're people
interestingly enough.
events. You can
Mhm.
you can really modernize and change, get better systems to track things, but you still need the human element. That's the number one ingredient.
I want to ask you about the RDC because that's something, I haven't had as much exposure to. Um, Explain to us, for people out there who don't know, what is the RDC and what is the importance of that organization?
It's the Relocation Directors Council. Now, that's what we used to be called in the 80s, and now it's vice presidents of business development, president of relocation. It's a normally licensed agent, not always, but it's a person that runs a real estate company's relocation division. And some can be small, some can be huge. And they're responsible for bringing in relocation, real estate business, and rentals now, because we get paid for rentals, settling in services, and everything under one roof. And that is a revenue stream for the real estate brokerages. So that's why they have these divisions, was to bring that net in of all those big fish, all that big business coming in.
Right. Well,
It's
and
really
it's
good,
specialized too. It's not like
very
you just say, "Oh, I'm
specialized.
going to do relocation business." No,
Yep,
you got to know these BMAs. You got to know what you're doing here.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah. For
do.
Jack Jampel says you're so right, Beth. Nothing will ever take the place of human touch in relocation. Kevin Felder checking in. Hi, Beth.
Oh,
Kevin's here in Dallas, aren't you, Kevin? I think you
yeah,
are, right? He's also involved in city government here too, I believe, as
yes,
well.
he
Maybe
is.
city council or something like that. Mary Piper, yes, Beth is always nice, emphatically. Yes, yes. And John Habanik says, Beth was one of the first people to welcome me to the West Coast when I started calling on it in 2015. Was always so generous and kind. Remembered me by name every time I was there. Big hugs,
Oh,
Beth. Thank you. Wow.
thank
Isn't it
you.
incredible the impact you can have on somebody's life?
And you don't even know it.
You
You
don't
don't.
even know it. Just with a
But you know
simple
what?
hug.
I know. Well, that's what I was going to tell you. I remember some people not introducing me in a crowd and kind of snubbing me, and I thought, wow, that's kind of crappy, you know.
Hmm.
Just like you, I vowed to never treat anybody like that ever. Even if
Yeah.
you're overly introducing, and make sure somebody knows each other and connect and make them feel welcome. It's so important.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Look
You
at
got to
this.
be
Oh,
smart too. You can't just be nice.
yeah. Oh, and then look at this. We got Susan, Susan Marie Sesse checked in.
Oh,
Susan is in Africa, in Sierra Leone, actually, I think. And
oh,
we actually did a fundraiser here on Love and Relo for her girls'
oh,
orphanage that she runs out there. And so they're building the building now with the funds we raised.
oh, that's so
And so they're
cool.
putting the roof on the home apparently right now. So Susan, thanks for all the work you do out there with the girls. Save the Young Girls Foundation out there in Sierra Leone.
Love
Appreciate you.
that.
Yeah, pretty cool. Yeah, we have so much power. We don't even know, honestly, like what we can do, like for other people and the amount of influence we have. Like I think a lot of times we think, oh gosh, woe was me. I wish I was the boss, or I wish I was so and so, or we don't realize what we can do as individuals at no matter what level we're in. I believe this so much. I'm going to kind of get on my soapbox about this, but I believe this so much is yeah, we influence our family, we influence all the people that we touch, and we choose to give a hug to or give a word of encouragement or choose to believe in someone,
Yeah,
and we just have such an opportunity to make a ripple of encouragement, out there in the world. And so I just encourage everybody to understand and take advantage of that opportunity to make an impact on other people's lives. And Beth, I think, is a great example of having
thank
done
you,
that.
Ben. Thank you.
So some people say it's too much love on Love and Relo. And they want more Relo. Okay. Now, I don't know if I should pander to that audience because they've probably already tuned out by now, if that's how they feel. Because sometimes my mom will tune in. She's like, it seemed like a real love fest today on Love and Relo. I'm like, come on, mom. Anyway, that's what I mean with that. But I
Hey,
want to talk
we need it
about,
more these days than ever. So Ben, never stop.
right? I mean,
Yes,
real estate's okay, but
absolutely.
love,
Never
I mean, love's
stop.
the currency of the world, right? It's like, so anyway, all right, but let's get into the Relo for the Relo people out there. Hit that like button, put your questions about relocation, real estate. We're going to talk about all that. But Beth, I'm really curious right now, personally and professionally, about what you're seeing in the real estate market. Because, and let's just start with me personally. Because I got questions, Beth. Okay.
Okay.
All right. I need to buy a house by February.
Oh,
Yes.
better start now. No.
I'm looking. I'm looking. Thank you. I'm looking. What do you see right now going on in the real estate market, and what do you predict in your crystal ball the next 6 months will hold for us?
Yeah. Well, I wish I did have a crystal ball, believe me, and a magic wand because we could make it all different. But low inventory still. And even though the interest rates have gone up a bit, it's still really good. I remember when interest rates were 18 and 19%, trying to sell
Yes.
that way, right? So,
Yeah, we had Randy Wilson from NEI on a couple months ago. I was in Omaha at her office, and she had a chart. She brought out like a piece of paper. I love it. I love it. I love it. And it had the charts all the way from 1980.
Yeah.
And I think interest rates were at 18% or something in 1980. And I was like, wow,
Yeah.
okay.
12% for sure. And, we've seen multiple offers, which has escalated the value of a home. And that always scared me about people that were relocating and maybe had 2 or 3 years in the area that they were moving into before they'd be transferred again. And then could they sell their homes for that escalated feeding frenzy price that they paid? They're waiving home inspections, waiving appraisals, waiving just about anything to get in because time and time again, they were in multiple offers. We've had upwards of, and I'm sure some people that are listening, upwards of 40 offers on one property. And how do you deal with that? Right. So, and then the sellers right now still have that mentality that it's that kind of market and the prices are not really reflective of coming down because the industry, the inventory is low. There's great, and at least in Portland and Seattle, there's demand. But we're seeing when we relocate all of our company folks around, it's everywhere, but it is changing. And I think also people are a little frightened in moving to say, do I want to buy now and get into that feeding frenzy? I'll just rent for a year. And that's what
Right.
we've seen, a lot of renters. And so that has escalated the uptick of the cost of renting these days. We've seen almost a 23 to 26% increase in rentals in Portland alone from just a year ago. So, and homes especially are difficult to find. And when you're paying top dollar, it's like some people are renting homes paying more than if they bought a house and had a mortgage.
Right.
So, I'm sure others will have a lot more and better things to say than me, but that's what we're experiencing, and just seeing more renters right now, and people being very cautious about getting in. They don't think the market's come down enough for them to feel like they want to get into the game and play.
Yeah, I'm gonna give you my thoughts on this, but I'd love to also hear your thoughts. If you're watching this right now, what are you seeing in the real estate market? The real estate market is something I think we all have an opinion on, whether we own or we rent, whether we do it professionally or we're just living in a house paying a mortgage. You have an opinion about it. I'd love to hear what is happening in your city because it's also so localized, right? I mean,
Yes.
what's happening in Portland and Seattle may not be what's happening in Dallas or, New York or Florida, right? So I'd love to know what you're seeing out there in the real estate market and where you think it's going. Is the market going to come down soon? How is rental prices affecting things? I'd really like to know what I'm sensing, and you tell me if I'm crazy. We have an unofficial game on Love and Relo. Tell me if I'm crazy. All right, so this game's called Tell Me If I'm Crazy. I'm going to say something. You tell me, Ben, you're crazy. So this is what I'm seeing is prices have been escalating, obviously, for a year and a half, 2 years. And it's a frenzy, but it's cooling a little bit. I'm starting to see houses come back on the market at a lower rate, at a lower price. And I don't know what that's due to. And I'm really curious if you're seeing that and what you think that might be due to. And so I'm also suspecting, and this I don't know because I'm not the one putting the offer in yet, I'm just looking, but I'm also suspecting that we're not seeing as many not as many.
Right.
We had 40 offers on the house. I mean, and that was here in Dallas too. I sense now I go see houses on the weekends for fun. Because I'm just window shopping at this point. But I go in, I hear the realtors talking, they don't have offers on houses. They might have one. And I'm seeing this rapidly changing. I feel like we're at a tipping point right now, and it's like at the top of the roller coaster, and click, 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 and then boom, you go down the other side. So I'm sensing that the prices are going to be coming down, 10% in the next, by the end of the year.
I hope so for you. That would be awesome, wouldn't it?
I am, and I'm also wondering too if before when you get 40 offers, you're also seeing things like going for like 10% over ask.
Oh, more than that.
Yeah, more, right? So now stuff is if stuff is going for just ask or maybe a smidge lower, whatever, that's going to represent a material decrease.
Right.
And
You know where it is? Your analogy of the roller coaster is perfect, Ben, because we are right at that little tipping point. In fact, if you were to put a barometer, it's like seller's market, but it's almost tipping over to the buyer's market, but we haven't seen that yet. And I do think that it is going to be a regional type of situation. But you're going to see it go into a buyer, which I think will be good for everybody.
yeah, it feels like a buyer's market with really high prices.
Yeah.
That's what it feels like.
That's what I said. The sellers are not with us on this yet.
They're not with us. Hello, sellers.
Hello.
Get with the program. The ship has sailed. You held too long. You should have listed 3 months ago. Get with the program. And then so buyers are just going to sit there and sit it out, like you said, just rent for, in my case, a few more months and watch.
Yep.
And what about the affordability with interest rates? What do you see that doing?
Well, it's interesting because we had people qualified when it was at 3.5 or 3.2. And I know Jim Abro is on this call with Directors Mortgage. He's in Lake Oswego and in our market. But it really took away just a little bit of an uptick in the interest rate to 5 to 6% of really making someone be not able to afford something by almost 100,000.
Wow. Is that what it changed the affordability?
Don't ask me. I'm not a mortgage broker, but people say I want to be qualified, but they're finding out that if the interest rate really reduces their purchasing power by a little bit.
Now, the advice I'm hearing is don't worry so much about the interest rate. Worry about the home price. Get in there, buy the house at the good price, and look at where the price is going to be, and you can refi later.
Yeah.
Or you could get an arm and then do some stuff there and refi. Are you hearing people doing that kind of strategy?
Not yet. But you know what? That's not my main diet every day. I'd love to do what mortgage brokers would say on here.
Yeah.
Is anybody on that could kind of give us a little barometer? I always say little what's happening in the weather change, because it's like going from summer into fall.
Yes. Let's see. Yeah, it is. It's like it's changing the seasons right now.
It is.
Is there anyone out there? Is there a mortgage broker in the house?
There is one. I know what I saw his name.
Yeah, we see mortgage pay. J. John, where you, Johnny Dry Heat? Where you at, man?
Yep.
Let's know. Let's see. Aaron saying seems like that seller's market tipping over to a buyer's market is also happening in employees market versus employers market. Ooh, interesting.
That's good, Aaron.
In regards to the Great Resignation versus layoffs, inflation, recession, which you guys agree?
There's a lot to be said about that.
Well, Beth, you're the guest, so I'm going to let you go first, even though
sure you do. You just push it out in front there.
I got opinions about this. Yes, well, here's what I see. It's funny. You said the sellers haven't caught up with the buyers yet, right? You said that about the houses, right? And I feel like the employees haven't caught up with the employers. There's a little bit of a misalignment right now. So the employers think the tipping point has tipped, but the employees haven't got the memo.
Nope.
So the employees are still looking for those remote opportunities, expecting remote opportunities, expecting to go, like, not going to work, or if they go in maybe like 1 day a week, really fighting tooth and nail for every day that they have to be in the office. We're seeing this. Like, we're seeing 1 day, we're seeing, 3 days being turned into 2 days. I'm seeing more people haggle over days in office more than salary. It used to be salary. You negotiate salary. Now they're negotiating how many days they have to be in the office. It's wild. So we're seeing that a lot. And I think employers feel like they have more hand in the negotiation than they do. Because at the end of the day, we're at a 3.5% unemployment rate. We have 1.8 jobs for every, 1.8 jobs open for every person looking. And it still is an employee market, even though this narrative that Aaron's saying here is out there and employers are reading. Because you know what we're doing nowadays? We read the news we want to read, right? And so whatever affirms what we think, and then we go out and we think that that's what the news everybody's reading, but we're all reading different news. So this is kind of what's happening. Employers are reading different news than employees. And I think the tipping point is coming. And I think that the Great Recession is actually, and we heard the Great Reshuffle, but I think it's actually the Great Reshuffle is actually, we've been hiring people remotely for 2 years.
Yep.
And now we want them to be in office. And now we're going to have to reshuffle employees to get them to get new ones who are actually in our metro that can come into the office and are willing to get whatever program we have. So we find our job as recruiters every week, it seems increasingly to be find me someone local. Whereas before it was just like find me someone with experience for the rate.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I'm seeing.
Completely remote. And I was able early on in the pandemic to really be able to hire extremely talented people. One in New Jersey, one in Chicago, one in Wisconsin, another one in the upper, almost to Michigan. We just didn't have low-hanging fruit for talent in the Portland area for what we needed. And but that's all changed. Those folks now really are very hard to find. And if you do find them, they want a big salary, they want a lot of time off, and they want to work remote. And I don't know how you can bottom line run a business and pay those kinds of salaries and everything else and make it all happen. So I think it's a tipping point. We were talking about the seller, the buyer seller. I think it's the same. I think, Aaron, you're right on with this. It's a very interesting dichotomy right now.
Yeah.
And people feel like they can ask for more, and they like working from home. It gives them more freedom. I think, I know for one, myself, I work more when I work from home because I don't ever turn it off. You forget.
Right, because it's just right there in the room right there, and you can just kind of wander in and check that email and
you have to put makeup on and get dressed every day.
Yeah, the commute time. Yep. Some people out there are skipping showers these days. I mean, all sorts of stuff is happening. Nobody knows. It's just you and Marcellus. Nobody knows what goes on, you know.
Don't tell her dirty laundry.
Mary Lee is saying, imagine the higher interest rates are affecting qualifications and debt ratios. So seeing things slowing in some of the MPLS Minneapolis areas.
Yep.
I think she's saying. Yeah, that's interesting. You're talking about people qualifying for homes.
Yeah.
So I say, gosh, I can afford it, but what type of do you know what kind of debt to equity ratio they're looking for, or debt to income ratios? Somebody told me 26 to 31% is what a bank's looking for all your house costs to what your income is. So even though you think you can afford it, the bank might tell you, no, you're not approved for that.
I think it makes a difference in your purchasing power. Really, it does. Yeah. Get rid of those high credit cards and debt. Get pre-qualified. Don't even go out and look for a home until you know what you can afford. And that gives you buying power and negotiating power too.
That's a good point. I should probably go get qualified. Mary Lee saying, be careful with an ARM when rates are rising. But Mary Lee, can't you refi out of that into a different mortgage? Love to know your thoughts.
If are good. I'd like to see what she has to say.
Yeah, really. Christina says, my skin thanks me for not wearing makeup every day. Long live the remote work first world.
Oh,
that's great. That's great. It is interesting though, because remote work is a lot like relocation. We think it's the antithesis of relocation. We think it's, the existential problem that we're facing as an industry. But in a lot of ways, remote work is like relocation, because remote work, like relocation, allows you to go get the best and brightest talent anywhere they happen to live. Right. So relocation was our way to bring them to us. And now remote work is our way to bring the job to them. So I think it's interesting, as you run a distributed kind of remote workforce, as I do, even though I'd love to have an office, my team, we talk about this all the time. As everybody's being asked to go back in, companies that choose to keep it remote are going to get that ever increasing pool of employees who say, gosh, I really want to stay remote. I really want to stay remote, not wear makeup and whatever. And we're going to be able to go out and get those folks when other people are making them come in. And I think another thing that's happening too, and I'm sorry, we're going off on a tangent. I didn't think we were going to go on, but another thing I'm seeing happening is companies are paying a little bit more to get people to come in. People are like, well, I don't want to go in the office, but for how much? Oh, for that much? Well, gosh, I'll go in the office for that much. That'll help pay my gas. That'll help compensate me for the time I'm on the road now. All the things that we weren't aware of, like those frictional costs that we had that we weren't aware of. And now companies are paying more for people to work in office. Well, then the converse of companies paying more to have people work in office, the converse of that is people who are working remotely are going to be paid less. And people that are working remotely don't want to hear that. But if you're not if they have to pay people in office more, then that means. So I think there's going to be almost like two kinds of schemes going. There's going to be an in office with almost a differential, and there's going to be a remote that's at a little bit of a discount. Beth, am I crazy?
No, I think you're right on. And I think that, there's a lot to be said about what makes somebody happy and can perform. And sometimes money isn't always it. Sometimes it is. It's really personality fix. Does everybody know that you've got a fantastic recruiting team, Glenn?
I don't know if they know that. They do
Well,
now,
you
maybe.
gotta know because we were using him and we were really excited about it. He has a fantastic recruiting team. So if you haven't known that, you got to find out. See, I could interview you, Ben.
You should. And Beth, did you know we're actually adding our 6th team member
Woo.
in 12 days?
Fantastic.
Yeah, and we're bringing everyone to ERC.
Wow. Good for
Because
you.
I want them to all get that experience that we were talking about of going to the big show and meeting the people and feeling the love and meeting. I mean, anyway, yeah. So
Good for you.
we've got some cool comments coming in here. I want to get these because I also want to make sure we have time for our overrated, underrated. Patrice is saying, always love an opportunity to hear my friend Beth speak. Great job, Ben and Beth. Moving into a more normal market, which happened much faster this time, hearing this across the country. Yeah.
Yep, I think you're right, Patrice.
What is a normal market?
That's a good question. I don't know. I think she means where prices are a little more normal and life is a little bit more normal, even keeled,
Yeah, but it's funny though, right? But aren't we more necessary when things are hard and they're things are scary, a little bit scary? I mean, you said death, divorce, and relocation. If relocation wasn't in those top 3, would we have an industry? Would the BMA exist if everything was super predictable? I don't know, so.
Oh, poor BMA.
We're beating up on the BMA. Look at this. Patrice says, oh, normal's 4 to 5 months of inventory. She has a very, very specific.
Patrice knows.
She does. Rainey saying, we're going to get to the rest of your comments, then we're going to get on to some questions. Rainey says, I think we hit a recession next year. Some predict it's going to drive the future of hybrid work, remote work. Whether we hit a recession is going to, interesting. Yeah, it's really interesting. Christina says, you're on to something, Ben Cross, because I'm happy to have a little pay cut because the money I save and the flexibility I gain is 1,000% worth it. Yeah, Christina's with family.
I'm with ya.
I think we're all there.
Dance.
As the happy. She's commenting about the mortgage, depends on the product. Typically, I would see ARMs for salespeople or individuals remaining in a location for just a couple of years and moving on, especially when interest rates were high. Interesting. All right, Beth.
Comments, they're great.
Are they good? Don't we have smart people here?
Hey, this industry has smart people, and they're really incredible people too.
All right, hit that like button right now if you want to see Beth Archibald's overrated, underrated. Hit that like button right now. Beth, we got a game on Love and Relo. It's called Overrated, Underrated. It's very simple. I'm going to throw out a topic to you, and you are going to tell me if it's overrated or underrated, and then I get to tell you if you're right.
All right. So
um,
it's you.
First one, paying extremely high referral fees.
Oh, that's neither. It's awful. Plain and simple. I
Yeah.
think
So you say this is overrated. We shouldn't.
yes,
Is there a tipping? We talk about tipping points.
we're there.
Have we tipped over, or as my mom says from Arkansas, tumped? Have we tumped?
Almost tumped,
We've almost tumped,
if not totally over the edge. I think we might be holding on by a
hanging
fingernail.
onto the boat with a finger.
Uh-huh.
Is it sustainable where it's at now? Are we able to get good real estate professionals to show homes and do all the things necessary?
It's tough because, real estate agents have splits with their company, relocation divisions have
Right.
to be profitable. It goes down the line. So it just diminishes what comes into an organization that is providing the service. And it's broken. I would say it's broken. And we really do have to take a look at where can we fix that. And I don't have the magic wand for that one, but I do think it's got to be looked at.
I mean, some people would say, I'll just play devil's advocate here. Some people would say, well, if you don't like the pricing structure, the referral structure, don't take the business and let the market do what the market does, right? Um, is that viable? I mean, could folks just not take the business if the rate was where they didn't want it to be? Or
That's why they're paying the referral fees because they don't want to lose the business. And you work very, very hard as a relocation director to bring in that business to your real estate company over your competitors. And that's your job. But then your job is also to have trained relocation real estate agents that will accept the work that's required for that business and feel like it's enough money to help support them. I don't think relocation can be business can be a main diet for a lot of agents. They're going to have supplemental business, and I think that relocation business is becoming supplemental. Your really, really high end agents do not want to pay the price,
well, and that's the irony, right? Because corporate business is supposed to be VIP and high
right?
touch, white glove, all the words that we put on brochures, right? But the profitability has to be there,
It has to
or
be.
else it becomes the worst agent in the office who has no listings. Okay, you go do the reload business because we're all busy selling a million houses over here and making a ton of money. I mean, that's how I would see it playing out.
Yeah. Well, and I would encourage everyone to look at my example of my company. We do a lot of unencumbered business. There are a lot of organizations that would like to work with our type of company. We may be small, but we're mighty. We know our stuff, and we cut down on the overhead. You have to look at business that you don't have to pay for. You have
Hmm.
to, but
Yeah.
it is broken. See, Marilee is saying that. Yeah.
Marilee's super sharp. She's always got some great insights. She's saying the
Yep.
pricing's broken. We are losing good relocation
Yep.
experienced agents as referrals are getting too high.
Yep. It's a
All
it's
right.
a tough job to keep your agents happy with that and still perform to the requirements and the expectations that you've been given in order to get that business and maintain that business and keep that business. And there's not a lot of profit in that anymore.
Real estate brokers and agents come to me all the time because they know I'm relocation and like, hey, how do we get some of that relocation business? Really, really successful, real estate agents come to me. How do I get some of that relocation business? And I tell them about the splits and they're like, oh, never mind. I'm good. Like I'm busy enough. I'm good.
Yeah, because they're on splits with their company.
Right. So a split of a
And the high
split.
cost of doing real estate right now is a lot, especially when you're doing multiple offers.
Yeah.
You used to get something and you could land a sale within a week. That doesn't always happen anymore.
Mm, didn't even think about that. The additional
Oh
work.
yeah,
All
and
right.
the gas.
All right.
Woohoo!
Let's move on here. Next one. The relationship with the transferee. Is this important? Is this overrated or underrated?
I think it's underrated. I think it's misunderstood. I think it's really important that organizations know that what it takes for a relocation company and a real estate relocation director and training agents to handle relocation business. It's not like your everyday real estate business. There's a lot of requirements. It takes long hours. You're paying a referral fee. But the expectations are very high that you take really good care of these folks. So I think it's underrated that we're
Yeah.
really one of the most important ingredients in that whole equation. And there needs to be a bridge built from the corporation to understand how it's the baton is handed. It's like a relay race. We get that baton to carry forward, but we're a really important part of that in finding a home. We talked about that when we
Yeah.
first started our conversation. It's important that they know how important we all are at that level.
Yeah, and it feels like the emphasis is put on getting the employee to accept the offer, and then once you got them, it doesn't matter how the transition period. That's what I feel. The emphasis is on talent acquisition, get them to sign, get them to agree to the terms. Okay, now we got them. Show up, and like as if it all just the household goods floats over there, and the home magically appears, and just and I think you're right. I think this is significantly
Well, and
underrated.
inflation, the cost of moves has really accelerated, and I just wonder how talent and acquisition can afford to look at the whole process. It's very expensive for everybody involved in the equation, not just
Right.
the real estate agent, the corporations, the relocation management company. Everybody's feeling the pinch of escalation of pricing. You used
Yeah.
to get $5,000 to move and go, woohoo, yay, that's a lot of money, especially if they're right out of college. It hardly goes anywhere. Rent
Are we
alone.
still seeing the same? Are we still seeing the same budgets that we saw pre-COVID?
Um, Basically,
Yeah,
you
and
might
yet we've
ask
seen
for a shorter
15%
here and there,
inflation.
but it depends on the organization and what they're willing to pay to get someone from point A to point B.
Yeah. All right. Next, partnering with RMCs, overrated or underrated?
I think it's important. You need each other. Everybody needs each other. I mean, we're a relocation management company that owns a real estate company, but I partner with a lot of other RMCs to deliver what they want to
That's
be
really
delivered.
interesting because you are an RMC, but you partner with RMCs.
Yes, I do.
How
Because you
does
know
that work?
why, Ben and everybody? Because we're really good at what we do. And they know that if they give that baton to us, we're going to make them look good. And the corporation's going to be happy. That family's going to, or that transferee is going to be happy. They know we'll do it. They know that we'll do it with finesse and with white glove.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I think we love partnering with others. It's just an extension of what we do. And we're a real estate company too. So
Yeah.
we specialize in relocation. That's what we do.
Right. Nice. Interesting. Next, real estate brokers, the other side of the coin, overrated or underrated?
Gosh, I think they're really important as long as your broker owner of your real estate company understands the importance of relocation business. It's kind of a necessary evil to be involved in it and to be corporately minded. It really, what stretches you, grows you. There are a lot of companies that don't even know relocation in North Dakota or South Dakota, and all they see is the referral fee and they start to hate you because of it. But it's a necessary evil, and brokers really, I think, gave away the store back in the day. Buyouts and things like that could have stayed in a real estate company had they had the knowledge and the foresight to do it, but they didn't. So that's how RMCs were born. But we're all reinventing ourselves. We talked about that earlier, and we've got to stay focused on reinventing. We can't keep and be the same day in and day out. Even ourselves renew every day. We need to do that too. But real
Right.
estate brokers, I think, are a little underrated right now.
Well, yeah, and I think all service for, I mean, movers have said the same thing about giving away the store, right? I mean, why are RMCs doing move management when movers know how to do the move better? That's what the narrative's been on the mover side for so long. But the truth is also the corporations purchase, and they like bundled purchasing. They like to buy one hand to shake, right? One RMC, and not to manage the price, the process, because it gets their payrolls down and their head count down, and that's what they're always trying to manage down, is their labor costs. And so, I think that there's other market forces too that have pushed it that way. But it makes a lot of sense what you're saying. I mean, over time, when did that start to happen, where that stuff started moving from the brokers to the the
in the
Archies.
mid to late 70s. Yeah. It's where we had guaranteed buyouts, and you had, as a transferee, you had 90 days to accept the appraised value, or try to beat it. You could list it or list it, or there's that show, you list it or keep it.
Love it or list it. There
Love
you
it or
go.
list it. Yeah. But you had 90 days to accept the offer. And then if you didn't, you were guaranteed a buyout and you got your equity and you were allowed to go on. And that was big business for all of us. In the early 80s. You don't see that much anymore because real estate's really, really good. They don't really need to do that.
Right.
Guaranteed buyouts are still out there though for executives, and it does allow them to move quicker, get to the new job, and up with the business plan of that organization by having them in the place and from
Right.
point A to point B quickly.
Yeah. Interesting. Last one.
Okay.
Requested agents, overrated or underrated?
I think they're overrated. I think that's the one of our biggest challenges in the industry. Working with transferees and new hires is they request an agent that they want to use. And I always say, this is a corporately sponsored and paid for move. This is not an independent move. If they were moving across the street or across town, we'll talk to you. And if you agree to working with us and all the steps that you have to go through, especially with the BVO,
Right.
and you're willing to pay a referral fee, it's
Right.
business you wouldn't have had this person and family not been asked to move on behalf of the corporation. And they fight because it's really tough. And they're not usually trained or understand the nature of the beast.
Yeah.
So it's like you're fighting with them constantly to deliver what you've promised you're going to do. It's really tough.
Right.
It's one of our biggest challenges.
Yeah. Interesting. Does it happen in any other service vertical? Like, do you see it with movers? Do you see it with, corporate housing? Do you see it in any other?
Yeah. You know what? I do see it in movers sometimes. I can get that move for less. And off
Right.
they go because they went in the yellow pages or wherever they went. And then they call us crying the blues when their things have been absconded. Ben, you used to be in the business. You know what I'm
That's
talking
the
about.
worst. I know.
So,
Every summer I'd get a call in July or August, right about now. These are calls I don't get anymore, saying, "Hey, a truck showed up, and I think it's a North American agent. Maybe it was. I don't know. It was blue. They told me it was blue, and they had the name similar to you guys. Do you know? Can you see?" I'm like, "Listen, it wasn't us. Some internet broker used our name or used the name like ours. You have these United American National Van Line, that throws all these like kind of buzzwords out there, and they get people's down payment or deposit, and then they hold their stuff for ransom, and
well,
it's
cheaper
just,
isn't always best, believe
yeah.
me.
Well, you pay for it
But
in
with
the
some
end.
budgets people are provided to move, they're on a skinny and they want to pack it. They want to, do it the cheapest, least expensive. But there's a lot of torture that goes with that.
Yeah, people are
Much
saying right on, Beth.
but moving and real estate agents are, I would say, the top two.
Yeah, probably right there. This has been great, Beth. I know we're over time. You've been so generous with your time, as you are generous with everything. I wanted to just ask you if you had a final thought maybe you want to leave with us today.
Well, first of all, thank you for having me, and thank you for all of my friends joining in. That felt good. It's wonderful. It's nice to be acknowledged for a job well done after all these years. And I guess I would say the biggest ingredient for success is truly caring, and be kind. There is strength in kindness, and we need that more in this world. And I feel very blessed to do what I'm doing. I love it every day. I never am bored. Every day is a different day, and I love the people that I am surrounded by in this
Yeah.
industry. And you're one of them, Ben.
Hey, thank you. I
So
appreciate
thank you
that.
for having me.
Yeah, this is great. It's been a real honor to have you. It's been a pleasure. Thanks everyone out there who
Yeah.
watched today. Hit that like button, send a little love out to Portland, to Beth. Thank you all for being out there. We wouldn't have Love and Relo if y'all didn't watch. So thank you so much for tuning in. We will be back next week. This has been great, everyone. We will see you next week. Take care, everybody.